So I did a long video last night, but I was walking outside and there was tons of wind. So I'm gonna do one now in here in the nice quiet, so you can hear a bit better. I'm gonna talk today about some people that have inspired me in my life to pursue a lifestyle that sits outside the normal script that we're kind of given from a young age. And funnily enough, you know, we seem to be sitting right in this very crucial, pivotal time in history that I don't think a lot of people have noticed exactly what it is that's kind of coming down the track. And yeah, I'm going to twist and turn and go backwards and forwards and try and end up where I'm at the point that I'm trying to make. So come along with me and enjoy the ride if you want. But yeah, this is it's started as, I'm sure some of you just assume it's just this anti-vax, pro-vax, whatever the fuck argument of the week they've decided to frame this within. But anyway, I'm gonna start with someone you've probably heard of. And his name is Kelly Slater. Now, Kelly Slater is universally recognised within the sport of surfing as the best of all time, the greatest surfer that there's ever been. He's won, I'm sure it's 10, maybe 11 world titles. He's like shaping up to win another one at age 50, which is ridiculous. Surfing is one of the most, or can be one of, I don't want to say grueling, but it's just, your body has to be in perfect, form to be able to perform at that level. And the fact that a 50-year-old is competing at that level and looking like he may win is doesn't fit within the normal story that we're told about aging and things like that. And also, what I want to say is that he's a multi-millionaire. He's every household name. Everyone knows who Kelly Slater is. It wasn't that long before Kelly Slater came on the scene that surfing was just considered a complete waste of time by the mass, by the most of the population. It was a real counterculture movement. It was just completely disregarded. It was it was basically laughed at by people. And then there was a group of guys in the 60s and 70s that just kind of pursued surfing and built it up and made it into an international sport very slowly. So not anywhere near for the money, just for the fact that they wanted to pursue that as a lifestyle and maybe make money out of it. And now we get to where we are now, where we have someone like Kelly Slater, who's made that their life. But even at if you take Kelly Slater, even at a young age, he was surfing. Surfing was becoming pretty popular at that period, but it still was such a wild card thing to try and do as a career that no one, if you were following the rational advice that we're all getting handed down at the moment, you'd never try and be a professional surfer. Even according to what we're the kind of situation that we're living in now, you'd never be a surfer in full stop because it's dangerous. There's a danger you can drown. There's sharks in the water. You can break your neck. It's a dangerous waste of time. And I don't want to live in that world. I don't want to live in the world where surfing is a dangerous waste of time. And you may think that's a really big gap between what's happening and what I'm saying, but there isn't. It's the same thing. It's a young kid named Kelly Slater decided to pursue a career that was completely, out of the bounds of reality to make, even just to pay your bills, let alone become wealthy and independent. But he did it, and he's still doing it at 50. And it's going to be an interesting thing when he wants to come to Perth very soon to compete here. And we're not going to allow him to do that because he has decided to take his own health decisions into his own hands. Anyway, that's Kelly Slater. And basically, it's been going through this that I've just been figuring out that all the people that I look up to the most in my life, as like mentors or people to guide me through, they've all done that in one way or another. They've all, I have that personality. I've always have. You can ask my teachers when I was young. Oops. I don't like going along the normal track, and that's not because I don't like the normal track. It's just what I do, and we need a portion of people doing that, and they need to be free to do that. And the thing is, it's hard enough as it is. You know what I mean? It's such a grueling thing where you're trying to forge some new whatever out of nothing with no support and no resources and no one even really cares. So we don't need to make that harder by piling on something like a mandate, which is basically an attack on that belief system that you have autonomy within your own decision-making skills. It's a far bigger argument than I'm sure a lot of you understand. It's not some little thing. It's not go and get the vaccine. Just go and get the vaccine. It doesn't fit in that category. And I don't want to change your mind, but I need you to really try for me to just wake up to that reality, that it's not just a simple yes, no, black, white, good, bad type equation. It doesn't work like that. People take that gamble, and everywhere within life, to go a different route, to leave the safety of the group or the mob or the whatever you want to call it, and pursue something on their own, and that needs to be supported. And if not even supported, it just needs to be not held back. Because if honestly, if we go down that route, where are we going to be? Everything that you go through your day and figure out how many things you use, whether it's your phone, this thing right here that you're looking at. I'm pretty sure we can kind of come to the consensus that the person who basically brought us this phone was operating in a similar fashion to someone who doesn't want to get the vaccine. And in fact, he even did die in that regard. Steve Jobs, when he had pancreatic cancer, he decided to go, against the mass medical system and fought it on his own and lost that battle, but he made that decision. And that's one of the most, he was one of the most kind of linked in, people of influence and power in the world at that time. And he still made that decision. And he was free to make that decision. And in the end, you can write it two ways. You can write it, well, he lost that battle, but you can never really, hindsight, It doesn't work like that. You can never really, you take one, there's a fork in the road, and you can't, part of that is you can't go back and see what the other fork would have been. But we need to all be able to make those decisions. And using a device, a political device, such as ostracism, which is what this is, ostracism, segregation, whatever you want to call it, is so extremely out of sync with the way, society and our systems has been progressing, that it's basically just, I just 100% know in my heart that it's operating in a legal fashion. It's not, we've the lunatics have taken over the asylum basically, and we're operating in a place that's just completely bonkers. And that, what I want to speak to you all about, I'm from the beginning, I tried not to make this an argument, because arguments are what is slowing this whole thing down. This isn't an argument. I support your fact to vaccine. And I want the same in return. And so do a lot of people. And we need to realise that that's okay. We also need to realise that we live in a global society where a huge portion of that population has one of these things in front of them, with either a screen and a camera and a microphone and 2 speakers. And people can see what we're saying. And it's not just me, it's a huge portion of people saying the same thing. And that's beaming out to other parts of the world that are looking back at Perth, little old Perth, and we look insane. Insane to the point where literally, like, some outside force could intervene under the guise of protecting, human rights. That's not meant to sound extremist or it's just literally the reality that we're in right now. This is not business as usual. This isn't how, my entire life watching the progression of where we are, this isn't in line with that. There's something else going on, and it's going to come out eventually. And I want you all, when people making my argument, when we use things like showing you pictures of Auschwitz or something like that, we're not trying to say that you're killing us or anything like that. We're saying this is it's like a slide, it's like a jump, like a ride that you get on. And the way you get on the ride is by making that step into these segregation, ostracism type things that are societally reinforced. And it's a ride, and once you're on that ride, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So we're not saying we're at the end of the, nowhere near the end of the Holocaust. When we're making those statements or those comments, we're basically going, hey, have you realised that you've got on this ride that historically hasn't ended very well, and that we live in a 360-degree audio-visual interconnected world where the entire planet can see what you're doing. I think you may have all drunk the Kool-Aid of Mark McGowan's Western Australia, as a tiny little bubble in the world, we just need to just stop for 2 seconds and just pull back, the shades that you're wearing, and just have a look and have a think about what you're doing. And when I say what you're doing, if you're not openly opposed to this, then you're supporting it. Read anything from Germany during that period. That's the consensus. It wasn't, the thing that's just repeatedly over and over and over said is that it was the people just going along with it and letting it happen. And that's the thing. It doesn't take, I'm not asking you to come and protest or do anything like that. Just say, hey, I'm not really cool with what's going on. I don't really agree with this. You know, where people like me that are on deep in this side, is like we're taking the brunt. Just your hand and say, yeah, it does seem a bit off. It doesn't seem right. I'm happy that you got the vaccine if you got it. I'm happy that you could stay with your job. And to make this decision, I've put my business on hold. I can't do the thing that I love the most. I can't go basically. And I feel like a complete outcast to society within the society, larger society, and even just the smaller society that I live within, which is like close family and friends, who I've just clearly been, ostracised from as well. Now that, you just all need to realise that that's not the normal state of being. And from anyone from an outside perspective, it looks really strange and scary. And things will be done about it. And it will be publicised worldwide. There will be people like Kelly Slater trying to come here, like Novak Djokovic. And it's gonna get interesting. And history is a record. And nowadays it's a really, really accurate record. It's a really, there's videos, pictures, for social media posts, everything's there. It was an interesting time being a Nazi at the end of in the end of World War II. You know what I mean? I just don't want you all in that situation. So yeah. The reason I do these videos by myself is, one, because it's just easy, I can quickly do it. And two, because a lot of people on the similar side to me, for whatever reason, aren't being as vocal. And they have good reasons, because it's scary, and it's, but I'm thinking, I've talked to a couple of people, and we're gonna start having a bit more of an open discussion about this in a friendly, accepting way. And it's just going to be there. The argument's going to be there. We're not... One of the things that's really interesting where we live right now is that a lot of people, I think, when I started doing this, I'm not exaggerating, I was actually scared. I didn't know where the world was sitting. I didn't know whether literally, the police were going to come and arrest me. I honestly didn't know. And I think a lot of people are similar. They don't really know where this sits legally. And so I took the step just based on and it wasn't really a big decision. It was just basically because of the situation I'm in. I'm like, well, I may as well. I've got nothing to lose. If it keeps going this way, I'm fucked anyway. So I'm just going to say what I think. But me doing that has shown that there's no real censorship on. The censorship is just people's personal algorithms. That's not censorship. It's